Hello students, this is Amrita. So if you're a final year student or maybe a third year student, welcome to this webinar wherein you'll be learning about one of the most annoying complications, which are the arrhythmias. And if you're a first year student, hello, welcome to this webinar. You'll be learning about two important questions, not one, but two. First one is the cardiac conduction from your anatomy. And then you'll be learning about arrhythmias, one of the most asked question and one of the most important question from your physiology. Okay, so let's not waste any time and let's just go into our webinar, which is understanding the cardiac conduction from rhythm to arrhythmia. Okay, right. So if you have already seen my previous webinar or if you have seen any of my videos in the Prakara, you'll be knowing how my sessions usually start. My sessions usually start with a question of the topic, because today's topic is cardiac conduction. So my question for today is, what is cardiac conduction? So before talking about what cardiac conduction is, let's just go back to the basic, let's just talk about the heart. Okay, if you just go to a first class student or maybe a second standard student, and if you just ask them what a heart is, then every single person will tell heart is an organ in the body which pumps the blood. Okay, we all know that, right? Heart pumps the blood. Okay, what is so exciting about heart pumping the blood? It's not actually a very exciting part. Heart pumping the blood is not actually a very exciting part, but it's actually a very complicated part. Okay, the reason why I'm saying that this pumping of blood by the heart is complicated because the process might be smooth, but it involves too many steps which actually makes this process complicated. Okay, now in the process of the pumping of blood, heart mainly undergoes two steps. Number one is contraction and number two is relaxation. Okay, the heart, first of all, heart is if you take the organ heart and if you compare with the other organs in the body, heart is completely different. Okay, the other organs are completely different. This is because heart is made up of a muscle which is nothing but myocardium. We all know that, right? So this muscle, when it has to pump blood out of it, it has to contract and it has to relax. Okay, so heart pumps the blood. How it pumps the blood? It pumps the blood by contraction and relaxation. And we humans, we have this tendency to name everything. So we have named this contraction and relaxation of the heart as heartbeat. Okay, the topic is cardiac conduction. Now, why are we talking about the heartbeat? I'll tell you in a minute. Okay, so let's just go back one step, which is contraction and relaxation of the heart. So as I've said, heart is a muscle and heart is contracting and relaxing. So in our body, we have various other muscles. Okay, let's just take an example of a skeletal muscle. So whenever a skeletal muscle has to work in our body, it has to undergo some contractions and relaxations. And whenever the skeletal muscle is contracting or relaxing, there will be some electrical activity that takes place in the brain, right? Some electrical activity will take place in your brain whenever the skeletal muscle is contracting or relaxing, right? There is no doubt about it. In the same way, if you talk about the heart, ultimately heart is also a muscle. It's made up of myocardium. So whenever the heart muscle undergoes a contraction or a relaxation, there will also be an electrical activity. But the twist over here is this electrical activity will not take place in your brain, but it will take place in your heart. Okay, no doubt. Heart is also a muscle, and every muscle, whenever it functions, like whenever it contracts or relaxes, there will be some electrical activity happening in the brain. In the same way, whenever the heart is contracting and relaxing, there will be electrical activity happening in the heart. Okay, right. So this contraction and relaxation, we have named it as heartbeat. And as I've mentioned right now, there will be some electrical activity in the heart. This electrical activity in the heart is nothing but the cardiac conduction. Okay, so now you might be understanding why I have spoken about the heartbeat. Okay, the reason why we are discussing about heartbeat is whenever a heartbeat is happening, there is electrical activity, and this electrical activity is nothing but the cardiac conduction. Okay, right? No confusion, right? So we'll just see the definition of heartbeat again. Okay, heartbeat is contraction and relaxation of the heart. Okay, if you just see the definition properly, I have added one more word over here, which is rhythmic. Okay, heartbeat is not just any normal contraction or relaxation of the heart. It is a rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart. That is, now your heart cannot contract for 2 or 3 times and then go for one relaxation, or maybe it relaxes for 4 or 5 times and then it can't undergo contraction. Okay, there should be one relaxation followed by one contraction, again one contraction, again relaxation. Okay, you're understanding? Contraction, relaxation. That is the periodical, or that is the rhythmic process in which the heart has to beat. Okay, right. So heartbeat is a rhythmic contraction and rhythmic relaxation of the heart. Okay, right. So if you take conduction in the body, like the cardiac conduction, is responsible for two things. Number one, it's responsible for your heartbeat. Okay, and number two, it's responsible for the heart rhythm. So the conduction of the heart is responsible for your heartbeat and heart rhythm. Okay, like we know what heartbeat is. We have seen that one contraction and relaxation of the heart is called as a heartbeat. Now, what is this heart rhythm? As I've mentioned earlier, the rhythmic contraction of the heart, or the rhythmic relaxation and contraction of the heart, is termed as the heart rhythm. The events in the heart, whatever are happening, they should happen in a sequenced manner. If the heart or the steps are happening in a sequenced manner, then we call it as a heart rhythm. So that's all the introduction about the conduction. So what is conduction? Cardiac conduction is nothing but whenever the heart is contracting or whenever the heart is relaxing, there will be some electrical activity that's happening in the heart. And this electrical activity is nothing but the conduction. And this conduction is responsible directly to the heartbeat and the heart rhythm. Okay. However, see, I just want to make a small correction over here. Conduction is directly responsible for the heartbeat, okay, but it is, however, not directly responsible for the heart rhythm. The reason why I'm saying it's not directly responsible for the heart rhythm is conduction system of the heart will receive commands from various other structures. Okay, let's just say it receives command from the sympathetic nervous system or the parasympathetic nervous system, or maybe from some hormones, or maybe because of the temperature, the heart rhythm has to either increase or decrease. I hope there is no confusion. See, simply remember one thing: the sympathetic, the parasympathetic system, or maybe let's just say the hormones in the body or the temperature changes, everything, these are all are considered as CEO of a company. Okay, the CEO of a company. And conduction is considered as a manager in a company. Okay, and the heart rhythm is an employee. If the CEO, which is the sympathetic or the parasympathetic nervous system or whatever, if they want the work to be done fast, which is the heart to beat fast or the heart to beat slow, then they will give command to the manager, which is our conduction system, to either make the employees, which are the heartbeats, to be fast or slow. So based on which the heart rhythm will change to be fast or slow. Okay, so conduction is not directly proportional or directly interlinked to the heart rhythm. It's like indirectly related to the heart rhythm. Okay, right. So these are the responsibilities of the conduction system in your heart. I think that's a great introduction about the conduction system of the heart. Now we'll just see how this conduction system or how the electrical activity is happening in our heart. Okay. So this is the basic structure of our heart. We all have seen the basic structure of the heart throughout our life. Okay, right. So firstly, if you see, we have a structure over here which is called as the SA node. SA node is very, very important whenever we are talking about the conduction system in the heart. The question is why? Why is SA node very important? The reason is SA node is the structure in the heart. See, heart constitutes of so many structures. Okay, it has multiple structures, but among all these structures, or among all the structures that involve in the conduction of the heart, SA node is very, 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 very important, because SA node is the structure which actually stimulates or which actually generates the impulses. Okay, it is the cause for the initiation of the electrical activity in the heart. Okay, so we have the SA node. The SA node will generate or it will stimulate the electrical activity, and from the SA node, the impulses will travel down to the AV node. We have the AV node over here. As you can see in the picture, the impulse has started from the SA node. It got generated in the SA node. It traveled down and it reached the AV node, which is nothing but the atrioventricular node. We all know that, right? And from the AV node, the impulse, whatever is there, it will drop down. Okay, it will drop down to the bundle of His. The black one, which I have marked, it is the bundle of His. Okay, it is generated in the AV node. From the AV node, it came down to, it generated from the SA node. From the SA node, it came down to the AV node. And from the AV node, it came to the bundle of His. From the bundle of His, it will divide, because the bundle of His has two structures. It has left bundle and it has right bundle. So it will divide now, and it will travel down through the left bundle of His and the right bundle of His. Okay, and then it will go to the Purkinje fibers. Okay, Right. If you see the structures carefully, the SA node to the Purkinje fibers, if you see clearly, these structures, whatever are involved in the conduction system of the heart, they're entirely covering the heart. Okay. I'll show you a better picture for understanding. So if you see this picture, we have SA node over here, we have AV node, we have bundle of phase, the left, the right bundles, and then we have the Purkinje fibers. So if you see, if we only take out these conduction structures from the heart, and if you just see it, if you can clearly see it, it's just marking, or it is just replacing all the, it's like covering all the structures. Every inch of the heart is being covered by the conduction system. Now, why is the conduction system covering the entire heart? I'll tell you in a bit. Okay, right. So firstly, we'll start from the SA node. We have seen that SA node is a structure in the heart which actually is generating the heart rate. Okay, now, sorry, I'm so sorry. It's not generating the heart rate, it's generating the impulse. I'm so sorry. Excuse me for that. Okay. So the SA node is actually generating the impulse or generating the electrical activity. It's initiating the electrical activity in the heart. So what is the importance of this electrical activity in the heart? Why should this electrical activity should happen in the heart? The answer is simple. In the first slide itself, we have discussed that heart is a structure which pumps the blood. How is it pumping the blood? It is pumping the blood through contraction and relaxation, right? Now, for this contraction and relaxation to happen, electrical activity should take place. So, as the pathway, we have seen the impulse is traveling from SA node, AV node, bundle of phase, left and right bundles, then the Purkinje fibers. As it is traveling through each structure, it will initiate an activity at the each structure such that finally the heart can be able to pump the blood. Okay, the blood, whatever is filled in the heart, can come out and it can travel into different parts. So every inch of, or every area wherever the electrical activity is happening in the heart is directly proportional to the, or directly it's linked to the activity of pumping of the blood from the heart. Okay, I hope there is no confusion. Every electrical activity taking place at every inch or every part of the heart helps us to bring out the blood from the heart and helps us to supply the blood to various parts in the body. Now, how is that happening? We'll see in a bit. So firstly, the SA node. So SA node is generating the impulse. We all have discussed, we all know that by now. Okay, now, if you know wherever the structures like the SA node, the AV node, bundle of phase, or the Purkinje fibers, all these structures, wherever these are present in the heart, if you know the area wherever they are present, you can easily correlate their action in the heart. How? I'll tell. So firstly, SA node. So SA node is present in the right atrium. Okay, SA node is present in the right atrium. So because this SA node is present in the right atrium, whenever the impulse is generated in the SA node, it will lead to atrial contraction. See, students, I just want you to write a note on this. Okay, these points are really very important for you in terms of exams, or maybe for clinical practice. This is very important. So I just want you to take a note of all these things. Okay, so yeah, just going back to our webinar. So the SA node is generating the impulse and the SA node is present in the right atrium. Okay, now whenever an impulse is generated in the SA node, it will lead to the atrial contractions. The atria will contract. Okay, right. Now, we have seen that the impulses are generating in the SA node. But at what rate are the impulses generating? Because there should be a rate and rhythm for everything, right? So the rate at which the impulses are generated in the SA node is 70 per minute. At a rate of 70 per minute, impulses will be generated in the SA node. Like it's very rapid, like very fast impulses will be generated from the SA node. Once the impulses are generated from the SA node, it will lead to the atrial contraction. Now, after this, the impulses will travel to our AV node, right? We have already discussed this. It will travel to the AV node. Once it travels to the AV node, what actually it will do is, firstly, AV node is present in the atrioventricular septum. Okay, it is present near the atrioventricular septum. As it is present near the atrioventricular septum, and the impulses from the atria, like the impulses from the SA node, are coming to the AV node at a very high speed. So what this AV node does is, it will delay the impulses. The function of the AV node here in the cardiac conduction system is to delay the impulses from the SA node. Now, my question is why? Why is AV node behaving so odd? Why is it actually delaying the impulses? The answer is simple. See, if you see the SA node is sending impulses at a very high speed to the AV node. And if you structurally see atria and the ventricles, atria are smaller. Ventricles are, however, very large. So if atria are contracting very fastly, simultaneously, the ventricles has to relax. This is quite basic. Okay, we'll just go back one step to our basics. We all know that heart is nothing but it acts like a sponge. Okay, it has to fill in the blood, it has to send out the blood, and heart is like a sponge. If it contracts, when the heart contracts, what it will do is, if you like squeeze a sponge, what will happen? Whatever water is in the sponge, it will drop down, right? In the same way, whenever the heart musculature, let it be the atria or the ventricles, whenever they squeeze, whatever the blood is filled in them will drop down. Okay, whenever they relax, it will allow the blood to fill within them. Okay, it's like a sponge. When it is squeezed, the blood will come down, or the blood will go to some other structure, and when it relaxes, the blood will fill into them. Okay, in the same way, here the atria are contracting at a very high speed. So when the atria are contracting, simultaneously the ventricles has to relax. But anatomically, like structurally, if you see atria and ventricles, atria are very smaller and ventricles are very large. If atria are taking so less time to contract, and if you expect the ventricles to relax in this very less amount of time, or if you expect the ventricles to fill in blood within them in a very low period of time, then it's impossible. So what this atria will do is, in order to make the ventricles to be filled completely or to be filled to the maximum level, they will make the SA node impulses to delay. So because of this delay, the ventricles can relax completely, and there will be complete filling of the blood in the ventricles. Okay, the SA node has generated a impulse at a very high speed, right? 70 impulses per minute. Okay, and because of which the atria are contracting. Fantastic. From the SA node, now the impulse has traveled down to the AV node. In the AV node, what actually is happening? AV node is delaying the speed. It is delaying the speed at a level of 60 per minute. SA node has generated 70 per minute. AV node has delayed it to 60 per minute. Okay. This delay is important because it will allow the ventricles to relax completely. Hence, because of which the blood can fill to the maximum. Okay, right. Now, from the SA node, the impulse has reached the AV node. Now, from the AV node, we all know that it will travel to the bundle of His. Now, where is the bundle of His located? Bundle of His is located in the interventricular septum. Okay. Now, what is the function of this bundle of His? Bundle of His will allow the impulses to transmit or travel from the AV node to the ventricles. Okay. See, the ultimate goal of the conduction system is only one thing, that the upper structure of the heart, which is the atria, it will generate from there, the generation of the impulse will happen, and it has to reach the lower structure of the heart, which are the ventricles. Okay. And for this, the bundle of His will help. Now the impulse came little down to the AV node. It was here, it came down somewhere here, and from here it has to go till here, till the ventricles. So because it has to go down till the ventricles, the bundle of His, what it will do is, it will carry down these impulses through the left bundle and the right bundle, and it will send it to the Purkinje fibers. Okay. Next, from the bundle of His, the impulses will travel down to your Purkinje fibers. Now, where are the Purkinje fibers located in the heart? Purkinje fibers are located within the ventricles. We all know that they're spread across the ventricles. So if someone asks you where the Purkinje fibers are located, or if you just want to mention where the Purkinje fibers are located, just write they're located within the ventricles. Okay. Now, what is the function of this Purkinje fibers? The Purkinje fibers will help in ventricular contraction. Okay. Initially, the conduction system has started with atrial contraction, and now it has ended with ventricular contraction. Okay, so this is how the impulse will travel from the atria to the ventricles, and this is how the entire process of how the atria is contracting, how the ventricles are contracting. Okay, so that is about the conduction system of the heart. Okay, I tried to simplify it to the basics such that you students will remember it in a easier way. Okay, I didn't want to complicate the entire session, right? So yeah, so that is about the conduction system. Now we have one more topic in this webinar, which are nothing but arrhythmias. Now, what are these arrhythmias? Okay, we'll just go back to the definition where I've told you a rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heartbeat, or rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart is called as a heartbeat. That's what I've told you, right? That's what the definition I have given you, right? Now, what happens if the heart is not beating rhythmically? It is beating arrhythmically. What it will lead to? It will lead to arrhythmias. Whenever the heart is not beating in a rhythmical format, or it is not all these events like the conduction events, whatever I've told you, if these events are not taking place in a sequenced manner, then it will lead to a rhythm, which is nothing but arrhythmias. Okay. So arrhythmias are the irregular heartbeats. Okay. So now these irregular heartbeats can be of any types. Like there could be like increase in the heart rate, or there could be decrease in the heart rate. There could be extra heartbeat, or there could be disappearance of some heartbeat. Okay. All these comes under your arrhythmias. Okay. We'll see what arrhythmias are. Okay. So when someone asks you, what is arrhythmia? Now you will be able to answer what arrhythmias are. Arrhythmias are irregular heartbeats. Okay, there is some rhythmical disturbances in the sequence that is taking place in the heart. So there is arrhythmia. But what are the types of arrhythmias? Arrhythmias are of various types. So if you divide the arrhythmias, you can briefly divide them into two types. Okay, you have normotropic arrhythmias, you have ectopic arrhythmias. What are normotropic and what are ectopic arrhythmias? See, in the conduction system, we have clearly seen that the SA node is the structure which is generating the impulse, right? So if there is a arrhythmia in a patient, let's just say a patient is having arrhythmia, but the SA node is the only structure which is producing the, or which is generating the impulses, then it is called as normotropic arrhythmia. And there is one more patient. This patient is also having arrhythmias, but however, the structure that is actually generating the impulse is not the SA node. It is some other structure in your heart. Okay, it's like it is little confusing right now. You people might be confused. Like if you're third year or fourth year student, you might know why this is happening and how this is happening. But if you're a first year student, you must be like shocked by now, like listening that it's not the AV node, it's not the SA node which can only generate or which can only initiate the impulses, but there are various structures in the heart which can initiate the impulses. Yeah, there are various structures. See, God has created us in such a way that heart is a very vital organ in our body. Okay, so if one structure in the heart is being damaged, there will be so many other structures which try to compensate the action, whatever this failed structure does. Okay, so if in your body, if in the heart, the SA node is failing to initiate a impulse, then there are various structures in the heart which can generate a impulse. Okay, if you want to know in detail what are these structures which are actually leading to the generation of the impulse, we can do a different webinar for that because it's a very huge topic. Okay, so we can make a different webinar for that. So if you have, if you're interested to know about that, just let us know in the comments. Okay, right. So just going back to the normotropic and the ectopic. So if a patient has arrhythmias and if the SA node is the structure which is actually initiating the impulses or which is generating the impulses, then we term it as a normotropic arrhythmia. But if a patient is having arrhythmia, but it's not the SA node, it's some other structure which is initiating the or which is generating the impulse, then we call it as ectopic arrhythmia. So these are the basic classic divisions of the arrhythmias. Okay, in the normotropic and the in ectopic, we have various other arrhythmias. Okay, we'll see them. Okay, I just want to give a brief description about it. I just don't want to go in deep about every type of arrhythmia because that will be a very lengthy session. Okay, my only intention is by the end of this webinar, I want you people to know what is the conduction system, what is the arrhythmia, what are the different types of arrhythmias. That is my only intention. Okay, right. So going back to our types of arrhythmias, in the normotropic arrhythmia, we have three types of arrhythmias. We have sinus arrhythmia, we have sinus tachycardia, we have sinus bradycardia. Okay, simple. See, remembering the normotropic arrhythmias is very easy. Whenever you see a word sinus and whenever you see arrhythmia, just one thing should pop up in your brain that, okay, this is a type of irregular heartbeat, but here the generation of the impulse is by the SN. Okay, whenever you see the term sinus, this should come into your brain. Sinus arrhythmia. If someone is saying there is a arrhythmia and it is sinus type, that means that it is the SA node that is generating the impulse, but there is some abnormality in the heart rate. Okay, right. Now, what is a sinus arrhythmia? Sinus arrhythmia is considered as a normal arrhythmia. Okay, here there will be increase or decrease in the heart rate, but however, that is interlinked to your respiratory rate. If you have a higher respiratory rate, the heart rate will also increase. So that's quite normal. Okay, sinus arrhythmia is normal. Now, what is sinus Tachycardia. Sinus tachycardia is not normal. Sinus tachycardia is a condition wherein, okay, the SA node is only generating the impulses, but this patient will have a very high heart rate. Let's just say the patient has a heart rate of 100 beats per minute or maybe more, like 150. Okay, then we call this patient as a sinus tachycardia patient. Now, you people might be confused with that. Why are you calling it as sinus tachycardia or sinus bradycardia? Are there other structures which leads to the tachycardia? Yeah, there are other structures in the heart which might lead to tachycardia. But here in the sinus tachycardia, it is the SA node only which is leading to the tachycardia. Okay, so tachycardia, sinus tachycardia is increase in the heart rate wherein the generation of the impulse will be your SA node. Okay, right. Now coming to the sinus bradycardia easy. Sinus bradycardia is decrease in the heart rate. There will be decrease in the heart rate below 60. Okay, there will be a drop of your heart rate. And here the cause is, or here the generator of the impulse will be your SA node only. Simple. Normotropic has 3 types: sinus arrhythmia, sinus tachycardia, sinus bradycardia. Now what is the ectopic arrhythmias? Ectopic arrhythmias, as I've said here, the generator is not your SA node. Okay, some other structure is actually generating the impulse. SA node has completely failed to generate the impulse. Some other structure is generating your impulse. Okay, right. Now, what are the various types of arrhythmias that come under the ectopic arrhythmia? Okay, yeah. So going back to the ectopic arrhythmia, in the ectopic arrhythmia, we have a heart block, we have an extrasystole, we have a paroxysmal tachycardia, and then we have various other types like atrial flutter, fibrillations, ventricular fibrillations, etc. Okay, right? Right. Now, first we will be discussing about the heart block. The name itself tells you the entire definition. Heart block. There is a blockage of the impulse that is supposed to transmit to the ventricles. From the atria, the impulse are supposed to transfer to the ventricles. But some structure is actually obstructing it. There is some block. Okay. Because of this block, this arrhythmia is being produced. Okay. So that is called as a heart block. Heart block is again divided into different types. Okay. We'll not discuss about that. Okay. Now, for now, just remember that heart block is something which is caused because of a blockage which is obstructing the passage of the or the pathway of the impulses. Okay, right. That is your heart block. And then we have your extrasystole. Now, what is the extrasystole? Again, the name itself is telling you. It's an extra heartbeat. The heart is actually producing a heartbeat, but before the actual heartbeat is being produced, one more premature heartbeat is being produced. That is called as an extrasystole. It's an extra beat. That is, it's an extra premature beat also. You can say it like that also. It's a premature beat which is being generated before the actual heartbeat. Okay, that is a extrasystole. Again, extrasystole is divided into various other types, like it's divided into atrial, it's divided into AV nodal, it's divided into ventricular. Okay. So let's not go into the subtypes. Okay. Right. Next, going to the next type of arrhythmias, which is nothing but the paroxysmal tachycardia. Now, what is a paroxysmal tachycardia? So tachycardia is something we all have discussed already. Tachycardia is increase in the heart rate. Okay. Now, what actually happens in the paroxysmal tachycardia is there will be sudden shooting or sudden increase in the heart rate. Okay. There will be this drastic increase in the heart rate. And this increase can be like so much. Okay. More than like say 150 or maybe at a range of 200, you'll see paroxysmal tachycardia. There will be sudden initiation in the heart rate and it can just drop down in some few minutes or maybe let's just say a few hours. Okay. That is your paroxysmal tachycardia, the sudden increase in the heart rate, and then after some time there will be sudden droppage of your heart rate to the basic level. That's called as a paroxysmal tachycardia. We also have a sinus tachycardia. Sinus tachycardia is also increase in the heart rate, but however, in the sinus tachycardia, the generator is your SA node. But in the paroxysmal tachycardia, the generator is not your SA node. The generator is a completely different structure in the heart. Okay, right. See, I just want to give a small note over here. So there is a term called as ectopic foci. Now, ectopic foci is something that the ectopic arrhythmias, whatever are present, you can also call them as ectopic foci. So whenever the SA node is not generating the impulse, some other structure is generating the impulse, then you can call it as ectopic foci as well. Instead of ectopic arrhythmias, you can also call them ectopic foci. Okay, right. So that is about the paroxysmal tachycardia. Now, after the paroxysmal tachycardia, we have other types of arrhythmias like atrial flutter, atrial fibrillations, and ventricular fibrillations. We mostly encounter atrial fibrillations or the ventricular fibrillations. Okay. What is this atrial flutter or fibrillation? See, all these types are most commonly seen types of arrhythmias. Okay. Now, what is a atrial flutter? So atrial flutter is obviously there will be this rapid, as the name itself says, there is this rapid contraction of the atrias. Now, how rapid are these contractions in the atrias? The atrial contraction will be so high that the heart rate will be at a range of 250 to say some 350 beats per minute. Okay, it will be so much high. Okay, the atria will contract so high and it will contract very inefficiently. It's not an effective way of contraction of the atria. It's a very ineffective way of contraction of the arrhythmia. And this is called as a atrial flutter, the inefficient contractions of the atria at a very high speed, wherein the heartbeat will be, let's just say, some 250 to 350 minutes per beats per minute. We call it as a atrial flutter. Then what is the atrial fibrillation? Atrial fibrillation, again, there will be contraction of the atrias, okay, abnormal contraction of the arrhythmias, rapid and irregular contractions of the arrhythmias rather, okay. And here also the heart rate will be so high, it will be more than that of the atrial flutter, okay. Here the heart rate will be of 300 to 400 beats per minute, okay, it's so high. Okay, and then we have ventricular fibrillations. Now, what are these ventricular fibrillations? Again, in the atrial fibrillations, we have seen that the atria are contracting. In the ventricular fibrillations, the ventricles will contract at a very high speed. And again, here the heartbeat will be so high, it will be more than that of the atrial fibrillations. Here the heart rate will be more than that of the, like, say, 350 beats per minute or something like that. Okay. And if you compare the atrial, like the fibrillations with the ventricular fibrillations, the ventricular fibrillations are very risky. Okay. They're very dangerous. Okay. The reason is, see, ventricles are the ultimate structures in our heart, which are responsible for sending out the blood. Okay. The purified blood only comes out from the ventricles. It doesn't come out from the atrias. Okay. So once the ventricles are beating so fast, the blood cannot come out of the ventricles properly. Okay. So when the ventricles are failing to send out the blood, the patient might just end up with the cardiac arrest. However, in the atrial fibrillation, you don't see this complication. In the atrial fibrillations, one complication that you see is formation of the clots. There is this high chance for the formation of the clots. And whenever these clots are formed, these will obviously lead to, in a long term, okay, not immediately, in a long term, they will lead to strokes, okay? Can be a cardiac stroke or maybe a brain stroke. Lead to strokes, which are risky. I don't say that they are not at all risky. The atrial fibrillations are not at all risky. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. Atrial fibrillations are also risky. But then if you compare the atrial fibrillations with the ventricular fibrillations are more risky. Okay. They lead to sudden heart attacks in the patients. Okay. Right. So that is a little briefing about the fibrillation, the arrhythmias. I hope you understood what arrhythmias are, and I really hope you understood what the cardiac conduction system is. Okay. So see, this is very important. When you're clinically like practicing, you should have a brief idea. Like if someone, we all are used to using the terms of atrial fibrillations, atrial flutter, or in short, arrhythmias. Everyone says that the patient is having arrhythmias, please don't do the treatment, pause the treatment for a day or two. Okay, that's what we say in our clinical sessions. But then if someone asks us, what is a type of arrhythmia? If someone comes to you and if they ask you what is the atrial flutter, or if they ask you what is a heart block, you should be in you should be capable of answering that question, and you should be capable of knowing what actually is happening in the heart. I know conduction system is a very like tiny topic in the heart, but it's a very important topic in the heart. If the conduction system fails, any of the structure in the conduction system of the heart fails, let it be the SA node, the AV node, Purkinje fibers, whatever, any of this structure is failing, that means that it will lead to some irregular heartbeat, which might ultimately end up the patient in death. Eventually or suddenly, it will end up it will make the patient die ultimately. So every physio should have a basic understanding of this, a basic understanding of the cardiac conduction, a basic understanding of the arrhythmias. It's not just, okay, the heart rate of the patient is high or the heart rate of the patient is low, so the treatment will be paused for today or tomorrow. No, it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. You should have a clear picture about it in your brain. Okay, the patient is having this particular type of arrhythmia. This is because, okay, this has happened. The SA node has failed, or maybe the AV node has failed. That's why this is happening. The conduction is not passing. So you should be in a capability to answer that. Okay. So that is a very brief session about the cardiac conduction and the arrhythmias. I really hope you understood, and I really hope this has helped you a little bit at least to dwell your interest in cardiology, or maybe dwell your interest in knowing more facts about cardiology, or maybe simply knowing about the working of the heart. Okay. So that's all for the session. Thank you.